All right, fellas. Today, I'm going to be giving my way too early 2024 NBA award predictions for each and every single major award. Fucking hell, man. My forehead is shiny as hell. But look, let me know in the comment section down below, whether I nailed these predictions, whether I fucked up big time. There might be one or two juicy hot takes. But yeah, let's get right into things, all right? So first up, we've got the MVP award. I got to go with Nikola Jokic, man. The last few years, obviously, the MVP's really been a two-man race between Giannis and Jokic, Both of them have repeated back-to-back MVPs, and then last season, obviously, Embiid came in, swooped in, got the MVP award, which I did think that he did deserve. But with that being said, once you look at the playoff performance, Embiid disappeared in the playoffs. Jokic obviously won the entire championship, so, kind of makes Embiid look like a bit of a fraud, but that's a topic for another day. Right now, Jokic and Giannis, they're just levels above every other MVP contender, in my opinion, including guys like, that next tier of guys such as your Lukas, your Tatums, I don't know, your Ja Morants, Devin Bookers, whoever they may be. Now, there's no doubt that Giannis is going to come out, fucking firing next season after the Bucks got embarrassed in the first round by the Miami Heat. But for me, they say that voter fatigue is a real thing, but I also think recency bias is a big deal as well. We saw that Jokic and the Nuggets relatively cruised through the playoffs, especially in the finals. They cruised through the finals. With that in mind, Jokic's stock is as high as ever. So I really feel like in order for Jokic to not get the award and for Giannis to come in and get it, the Nuggets will kind of have to, I suppose, have a disappointing season, kind of collapse a little. Or, the Bucks might be the only 60-win team in the entire season, and the Nuggets might cruise to like a 50, 51, 52 type win team. And that's the only way I can really see Giannis coming in and getting it. Yeah, I've got Jokic getting that MVP award. Next up, I've got the Rookie of the Year award going to Victor Wembanyama. Look, I don't want to be that guy that's fucking choosing Wemby just because he's the number one overall pick and just buying into that hype. But the reason I believe that I have Wembanyama winning it over my runner-up, which is Chet Holmgren, is because mainly because of his role that is asked to play, okay? In San Antonio, these guys, they're going to be cheering if they win 25 games next season. As Stephen A. Smith said, throw a parade or something.
Kwame Brown is gone. The City of Angels, Hollywood, just should be celebrating. Throw a parade already, whether you win a championship or not.
Look, they're going to be bad. And they're going to be handing the keys to the entire team to Wembanyama on offense, on defense. I know they got Keldon Johnson. I know they got Devin Vassell, Trey Jones, nice little core, but everything is going to go through Wemby, right? And so he's going to put up some nice numbers. His efficiency might take a bit of a dip whilst he gets used to the physicality of the NBA, but no doubt he'll put up nice numbers. Now, as for Holmgren, for example, in OKC, his role is going to be vastly different because he's not going to be asked to be a number one, number two, or maybe even a number three option because you've got, obviously, SGA, you've got Josh Giddey, you've got J-Dub Williams. So his role is going to be more of a complementary piece. He might end up, becoming that number two option as the season goes towards the end, but to start things off, OKC's got a ton of momentum. They just made the play-in tournament. They're going to be making a playoff push. They're not going to force this guy to be the franchise player because I already got Shea doing that, right? So I feel like his main role is going to be anchoring the offense, anchoring the defense and being a complementary piece on offense. And because of that, I just feel like this award is going to go to Victor Wembanyama. Now, obviously, shout out Scoot Henderson as well. But, in the scenario, if Dame's going to be available for the Blazers next season, I don't see how Scoot wins it. And if Dame gets traded, the likely return is going to be Tyler Hero. And, between Tyler Hero, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, Shaedon Sharpe, there's too many people to feed as well for Scoot to really just come out, average 20 points a game on, 40% shooting and do his thing. So with that being said, yeah, I've got Victor Wembanyama winning Rookie of the Year. Next up, we've got the Defensive Player of the Year award. And I'm going with Anthony Davis, which is a bold fucking prediction, right? Now, this was by far the toughest choice I had to make because it was a really close three-man race between AD, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Evan Mobley for me. But you know what? I love the fucking bold prediction. I love getting flamed in the comment section, so come at me, bro. I'm going with Anthony Davis. Now, starting from next season, one thing to keep in mind is that there is going to be a minimum games requirement limit, for a player to be eligible for these awards. And it's going to be 65 games. And so that's a big fucking if for AD because he hasn't played 65 games since 2018. And if you look at the other guys, Jaren Jackson Jr., he's only had one season where he's played more than 65 games. So if you go by that logic, Evan Mobley's by far the clear choice, right? But like I said, I like giving fucking bold predictions, okay? Now, I'll give the arguments for Triple J and Evan Mobley first. Jaren Jackson Jr., obviously, Grizzlies are going to be without Ja Morant first 25 games. They're not going to be a great offensive team when their three best offensive players are Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Luke Kennard. So I expect them to lock shit up defensively from the get-go, especially when you're not starting a liability on the defensive end at point guard, right? And, they have the potential to be by far the best defensive team in the league. And if they do get that, then, logically the best defensive player on the best defensive team deserves recognition, right? For Evan Mobley, the Cavs were actually the number one defense in the season in the NBA last season, and he still couldn't get that award over Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, this season, they're adding Max Strus, they're adding George Niang, 2 traffic cone defenders, and so if the Cavs somehow maintain the number one defense whilst adding those 2 guys, very strong case for Evan Mobley. But for me, I got to go with AD, man. I think he is by far the best defender in the NBA today, whether it's protecting the rim or switching onto the perimeter. Like, look at what he did against Steph Curry in those final possessions in Game 4 of the playoffs. He is the real deal. And when you look at the Lakers last season, when they turned things around, they had the best defense post All-Star break, I believe. And obviously, that was piloted by AD. He was the reason why the Lakers were able to remain competitive whilst LeBron was injured and ultimately get into the play-in tournament, right? And I think as long as he stays healthy, which, like I said, is a big if, there's no doubt in my mind that AD is the best defensive player on the planet right now. So I got hats off to him. I got to go with AD for DPOY. Now, the most improved player, I've got it going to Mikal Bridges, with Jordan Poole being the runner-up. Now, this really comes down to what you kind of value more in a player. If you want a guy that's going to give you empty stats on a losing team, as pretty as they are, Jordan Poole is definitely the guy, The Wizards, they're going to finish in the bottom of the East, but Jordan Poole's going to put up some big numbers, man. Like, you look at him last season. He averaged 24.6 points, 3.1 rebounds, 4.6 assists per game as a starter, in comparison to 15.9 points, 2.3 rebounds, 4.4 assists coming off the bench. So no doubt the potential is there. I can see Jordan Poole averaging anywhere between 25 to 28 points per game next season, just because they're just going to give him the ball and fuck off. Like, no one else can do anything on the court besides maybe Kuzma. And so with that, it's going to be a drastic increase from the 18.5 points per game he averaged last season. So obviously he can win the award. Me personally, I don't value that too much. I'd rather someone who can see a similar jump in numbers, but actually plays meaningful basketball. They're on a team that's making a playoff push, which is Mikal Bridges, right? When he did get traded to the Nets post-trade deadline, he averaged 26.1 points per game in comparison to the 17.2 points per game he averaged as a Sun. There's no reason why he can't average, at least that 26 points again, right? 26 to 28 points per game. Now that is more familiar with being a number one option. And you combine that with the fact that he still plays elite defense and the Nets are making a push for the playoffs. I don't see why he can't win this award. Now, with this award, sometimes there's just random motherfuckers that just come out of nowhere and just burst onto the scene. So you could have guys like fucking, I don't know, bro, like just the end of the bench guy suddenly get an uptick in minutes and just show out. You never know. But Mikal Bridges, he's the clear he's in prime position to win the award. Now, a bit of a long shot for me is Anthony Edwards, because this guy just keeps improving and improving and improving. He's an elite two-way player. Obviously, he's a fucking natural leader. So I could see him taking a next leap in his, in his numbers as well. But he already averaged 24.6 points per game last season. You've got Karl Anthony Towns making a full return to the lineup. They added Shake Milton. So there might not be enough touches for him to kind of take that to the next level. But who knows? Because we saw Ja Morant win it a few years ago. So you never fucking know. But I've got Mikal Bridges winning that award. Now, for the Sixth Man of the Year award, I've got CP3 winning it with Malik Monk as my runner-up. Now, the reason why I've got CP3 winning it is that his impact is going to go far beyond the numbers, He might average, 12 points, 7.5, 8 assists per game, but he is going to elevate that Warriors second unit like no other. Like guys like Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, they're going to benefit big time. And also other guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, whoever it may be, everyone's just going to benefit playing next to the point guard. So I think that the eye test will tell you how impactful of a player he is. And even though his stats might not be the biggest, I think he's going to win the award. Now, Malik Monk, he's my runner-up. And we all saw how instrumental he was to that Kings offense, especially in the playoffs when guys like Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter just weren't showing up. You look at the playoffs last season, Malik Monk averaged 19 points, 5.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists in the playoffs. And that was 5.5 points more than his regular season average. But with that being said, I just don't see him having the same offensive responsibility in the playoffs than he did in the regular season, because you can bet that guys like Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, maybe even Keegan Murray, they're going to have bigger moments in the regular season, so Monk will still remain that spark plug off the bench, So I've got CP3 winning it. You look at the guys that won it, that were in contention this most recent season. Malcolm Brogdon, his scoring responsibility is going to go down with Kristaps Porzingis on board. Emmanuel Quickley, you know, he had a lot of games where he was starting in place of Brunson, so that kind of inflated his numbers a little bit. And, you know, with the Knicks roster the way it is, you know, he's still behind Brunson, Randall, Barrett on the offensive pecking order, so I don't really see how he kind of breaks out. So yeah, CP3, Sixth Man of the Year. And lastly, Coach of the Year, I've got OKC's Mark Daigneault winning it. Now, OKC is obviously a very promising young team. They've got a great young head coach in Daigneault. They're fresh off a play-in tournament where they almost snuck into the playoffs, and, you know, their young core has another year of growth. They're adding Chet Holmgren back into the mix, and they're going to be very competitive in the Western Conference. And so for me, I don't care if they slip into a play-in spot again, because that's just how good the West is. I still feel like Daigneault is going to deserve the award. The only other person I can kind of see as of right now kind of swooping in and winning it is probably Rick Carlisle of the Indiana Pacers. Now, I'm pretty high on the Pacers. I do think that they're going to be a sneaky good team in the Eastern Conference and probably sneak into that playoff picture. But I feel like in order for Rick Carlisle to win the award, the Pacers got to win like 50 games, because Carlisle's already known for being one of the best minds in basketball. And so I feel like he really needs to overachieve with the Pacer roster for him to have a realistic shot. So because of that, I've got Daigneault winning. So look, that concludes my video. Let me know down in the comment section, you know, if you guys agree or disagree. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.